skiing with a difference. There's no snow, but that doesn't matter. Here, you can hit the slopes all year round. CopenHill, as it's called, is located in the Danish capital. The artificial ski facility was built in 2017 on top of a waste incineration plant. There are lifts to take ski fans to the start of the 100-meter-high piste, which stretches over half a kilometer. Not Europe's most challenging slope, but it's most unusual.
Skiing in summer is great. Really funny in shorts and t-shirt.
The environmentally conscious Danes have turned this into somewhere fun. A futuristic power plant where you can also ski, climb, and hike. One of the many attractions of a city which prides itself on being stylish, modern, and practical.
There's a focus on architecture here. That's why I find it very Danish and Copenhagenish to build a ski slope on an incineration plant.
Copenhagen. A city where historic buildings mingle with modern architecture. They do things differently here. The buildings are sustainable and visually dazzling. The Green City has an ambitious goal. It wants to be the world's first climate-neutral capital. Copenhagen has topped rankings as the world's most livable city on several occasions. CopenHill is just one of the many spectacular projects here. Camilla van Deurs has the overview. She's the chief strategist in charge of Copenhagen's green transformation.
In my everyday life, I get to visit amazing places in the city, like CopenHill, and really use the entire city as my office. It's a job where every day I get to talk about the details of this great city and meet a variety of people that are all passionate about making change happen.
She's been Copenhagen's chief city architect since 2019. She plays a big role in shaping both urban planning and architecture in the capital.
First of all, I think it's about creating a livable city. So thinking very much from the perspective of the inhabitants here. What would make their everyday lives and the experience of moving around in the city, being a child in the city, a better experience? And then, of course, that translates into numerous factors. How green are our streets? What is the quality of the ground floor as you move? How do you create lively public spaces that have sun and activities? I always try to start in this need of what do we need to make this a great city to live in, and then scale the solutions and the architecture up from there.
The vision is to create a 21st century city. A city that combines commerce and ecology, living and working, relaxation and adventure. But even in a green city like Copenhagen, not everywhere is squeaky clean. The canals, for instance.
Here in Copenhagen, there is quite a lot of trash. But as you see, there is a lot of trash laying in the water just right here. So this is where we start, and from when we finish here, we go explore the harbor.
All right.
Green Kayak combines the fun of messing around in a boat with cleaning up the environment. Tobias, one of the founders, calls it a trash hunt.
So this is like a typical thing, huh? McDonald's and soda cans. Candied paper, chips.
More plastic.
The concept is simple. Anyone can use the kayaks for free as long as they help fish trash out of the water.
Sometimes I wonder if I should be happy or sad about it, because it's like, okay, it's good that we pulled out so much trash from the water, but then on the other side, it shouldn't end up there in the first place.
Let's see. Let's go.
After 2 hours on the water, time for the weigh-in. 17 kilos of trash, a sizable haul.
More than 60,000 people have collected more than 94 metric tons of waste with our kayaks, and we're working hard to hit the 100-ton mark.
The message of Green Kayak? We're all in the same boat. But when it comes to getting around town, the Danes like traveling by bike best. Michael Colville Andersen has explored almost every city of the world on 2 wheels. The bike blogger has cycled in Japan, Brazil, and the United States. His favorite remains Amsterdam, with Copenhagen a close second.
60% of the people living in the city of Copenhagen ride a bike every day. It's my doctor, it's my politician, it's my lawyer, and it's students and children, right? So it's not like cyclists, it's just Copenhageners on bikes. And you can design the city for that. Making the bicycle the fastest way from A to B, everybody will do that.
Michael is regarded as an expert on urban mobility. He's the host of the series The Life-Sized City. The designer advises on how to make cities more attractive and more livable. Copenhagen is a model worldwide.
Just think about the last century and a bit, an unstable Weimar Republic. We're a design country and we're proud of it. My kids have design in the 3rd grade, and we learn the principles of Danish design. Practical, functional, elegant, right? There's a whole nother episode about how deeply rooted design is for the Danish people. But that is how we've been thinking about the city for a long time. We're designing it, right? Make it fun, but make it practical, like you said. Combine all of these elements instead of just putting them into compartments.
Fashion Week in Copenhagen is hailed as the world's most sustainable fashion week. It has banned single-use materials like plastic bottles, for example. The brands themselves also have to meet specific sustainability standards. One fashion designer has turned away from conventional fashion and is having success nevertheless, or for precisely that reason. Sigurd Bank creates high-quality garments in his Copenhagen studio, from dead stock or leftover material, as well as recycled fabric.
The industry has to stick with it, otherwise it's just a marketing ploy. I think it's good what they're doing, but I don't entirely believe it's changing. At least this way, more focus is on the fashion industry, and it is getting pushed towards sustainability.
His label MFPN tailors exclusive clothing, from classic styles to business and casual wear. Sigurd Bank is one of the new stars of the Danish design scene. He doesn't regard himself as a rebel, but as an outsider who calls things into question.
Too much is being bought and produced. In my position, it's a difficult thing to say, but we have to reduce our consumption. That's true for everything in life, from electronics to fashion.
Skiing down the slope while trash is being burned below. The glass lift reveals what is happening inside the plant. 70 tons per hour. Each day, 300 trucks arrive loaded with trash, which the plant uses to create electricity and heat. The technology turns the trash into cleaner energy.
It's crazy that a waste plant can bolster the image of a city. Usually these kinds of facilities are outside the city, hidden away. That's not our approach. A city produces trash that has to be disposed of. It's important to make citizens aware, to show them what happens here as part of the solution.
The facility is not without its critics, who say it is too big for local requirements, and argue it would be better not to produce the trash in the first place. And yet it's part of the city's strategy to become carbon neutral. And the waste-to-energy plant, as it's described, is intended to help underpin Copenhagen's reputation as the greenest of all capital cities.
If we didn't burn the trash, it would end up in landfill and release methane gas. We're making energy out of waste, turning a profit from a problem, making it sustainable. Cutting consumption and recycling things so that no trash is created in the first place, that's still a long way off.
CopenHill is a power plant that turns waste into electricity, and that is so huge that it's going to be the biggest and tallest structure in all of Copenhagen. How could we transform...
A little crazy, you might say. CopenHill is his work. Bjarke Ingels, 49 years old, Danish star architect.
But we do have mountains of trash. This sounds like science fiction, but this is the world-changing potential of architecture. What started off as wildly fictional ideas, ski slopes and smoke rings, is turning into everyday reality.
His designs are internationally renowned, and he's in big demand. Bjarke Ingels has already built a lot of buildings in his home city. There are few other places that can make bold ideas like these come true.
If you compare Copenhagen to Stockholm, Stockholm is this dramatic archipelago with rocky islands, and Oslo is basically at the foot of the Holmenkollen mountain and the ski jump in the middle of a beautiful fjord. Copenhagen is kind of flat, but when you look closely, everything man-made is thoughtful and has been made with attention and care. It's the design, it's the formgebung that makes Copenhagen what it is.
Bjarke Ingels designs buildings that have a lot of different, above all, diverse functions. He aims to create ordinary things in extraordinary ways. There's no need for green buildings to be uncomfortable and joyless, according to Ingels' philosophy.
We call it
hedonistic sustainability. In all our projects, we try to create a sustainability that is not just good for the environment, but also improves people's lives. Sustainability that doesn't involve going without or compromising. It should be so sexy that you want it.
The Red Square in Copenhagen. Neon signage from Moscow and China, benches from Iran, a slide from Japan. Nørrebro. Once it was seen as a rough neighborhood, but now it's become a hip, multicultural melting pot. The square is a conscious cultural invasion made up of 108 objects from more than 50 countries. It was designed by Bjarke Ingels together with local residents. Anna Viksu lives here.
It's not natural.
It's also where she gets her inspiration. Her songs are about autonomy and self-determination, but also about how Copenhagen ticks.
Climate and sustainability play a big role at the moment. I'm considering whether to release my album on vinyl. Is that possible? Can you do that sustainably? And how should I travel to my next gig? That's no problem here in Copenhagen. But what about when it's further away? How can you avoid being an environmental sinner? I ask myself that a lot.
29-year-old Anna, alias Nyx, is one of the few women in the city's rap scene. She moved to Copenhagen 10 years ago.
We can go almost anywhere on foot here. Sometimes people give me funny looks when I say I'm going to walk. But that's how it is. Everything is close by. Copenhagen is like a big village compared with Berlin, for example.
Copenhagen, young and hip. No other city has worked harder to transform itself into a sustainable and attractive place to live. This square is just one example.
Since opening this area, it's really become the brand of Nørrebro. It's like the living room of this part of the city. And so many people that would never have come to this area now come here to do cultural events, to go inside the sports facilities, or just to hang out on this great square. So it's really changed the brand and the image of the space and opened it up and invited people from other places of the city to come here.
When it comes to the mobility revolution, Copenhagen is outpacing itself. In the last 10 years alone, the city has invested 300 million euros expanding bike paths. So many people cycle that there's not enough room for everyone, especially at rush hour. Now, the city is creating more places for bikes to park.
And that's really a challenge for us as a city, how to deal with the bicycle parking. We have to start investing really a lot of money in bicycle parking. And one of the ideas is to build bicycle parking out on top of the train tracks.
500 kilometers of bike paths. The city has been extending the network for 20 years now. The capital also has downtown leisure opportunities.
We have a number of 7 harbor baths in the city, and really this whole experience of opening up the water, making it much more livable. People from my work, they go down during their lunch break, they just take a swim, then they go up and work again.
Architecture and quality of life made in Copenhagen. Camilla van Deurs gets inquiries from all over the world. This time, she's meeting urban architects and planners from Belgrade. Like many others, they've come to learn from the city. The Serbian capital faces different problems, but shares the same goal: to become a better place to live.
When you come to Copenhagen, what are the kinds of the lessons or the things that we can maybe show you that can be interesting?
The biggest issue for us are the green ways of transportation to the city. Just 0.7% people driving bicycles.
One of the success for the bicycle infrastructure in Copenhagen is also that we always started putting it on the streets and not in the parks. It takes a lot of courage from the planners and from the local politicians to take space away from the cars.
Right in the middle of it all, green instead of gray. Østergro is Denmark's first urban roof garden, a little oasis. Flowers, herbs, fruit, and organic vegetables grow here over 600 square meters.
Just give it to, I think it's got to go on the lift.
Every Tuesday is Volunteers' Day, when members work alongside volunteers up here on the farm.
I'm interested in ecology and I like being outdoors. I live on the 3rd floor and I don't have any possibility of growing anything myself.
Fascinates me about it is so many different people coming together from all around the world and working to a common cause, and voluntarily. Because on Tuesdays, when it's volunteer day, we all just come because we want to be here and because we like to be out in nature, and I think that's really, really cool. Yeah.
Up to 2014, this was the roof of a former car auction house. Now it's a grow-your-own paradise with several bee colonies, its own hen coop, rabbit pens, and a compost facility. The idea of transplanting green agriculture from the country into the city came from Livia Urban Swart-Harland. She was studying horticulture at the time.
Östergro began as a dream. We wanted to create a city farm with local and sustainable agriculture, which would give urban residents, with little contact to nature, the possibility of experiencing organic farming firsthand and supporting it.
I think 2 is not enough.
Discovering the joys of growing your own food, watching plants develop and finding out what they need. Anyone can participate, and community is important too. And of course, there's also a message.
What Östergro so nicely demonstrates, in my opinion, is that we should eat more locally grown food. We should eat more vegetables. We should make sure that we eat organic food, and we should show respect and pay more heed to the natural cycle and the seasons.
Gastronomy is also part of the concept. Östergro is the first urban rooftop farm that's a restaurant too. Anders is cooking for the members today. On the menu, zucchini, fennel, baked red potatoes, and a colorful salad.
And then there's a vinaigrette on the side. There's honey in it, so for the vegans, don't take that. And there's mayonnaise and ketchup.
Urban gardening is a relaxing kind of work. You can either take the vegetables home with you or enjoy the reward of a sit-down meal at the end of the day. This takes urban gardening to a completely new level. From banker to vegetable grower. 8 years ago, Anders Riemann switched an office for a production site and a suit for protective clothing when he set up Europe's biggest indoor vertical farm in the Danish capital.
So this is the kindergarten, and then the mature plants on the other side. We can harvest 15 times per year, and we do that in 14 floors. So 15 times 14 is 210, and we have 250 times more utilization of the same area compared to a farmer.
Spinach and similar leafy greens can be harvested after just 4 to 6 weeks. His goal is to achieve urban food security.
Now, after Corona and the war in Ukraine, we are very vulnerable for security of supplying food. So we need to be able to have food production inside of the cities as part of the infrastructure.
Denmark imports the bulk of its greens from elsewhere. Anders Riemann says that 20 vertical farms like his could meet domestic demand. Conventional agriculture accounts for 30% of global warming and uses 38% of the world's land surface.
The opportunity our generation have in these years is that we have access to technology that would enable us to produce much more food on less space, so we can free up agricultural land and turn it back into what it was originally used for, namely forest.
Anders Riemann is optimistic that vertical farms like his will soon be contributing to food security and healthy nutrition worldwide. The city's iconic Little Mermaid. She isn't worried about rising sea levels, but Copenhagen is. Over the next 10 years, 350 trucks a day will travel through the city to the port. It's part of the biggest building project in Danish history. Several 100 million metric tons of earth and sand will go into creating Lynetteholm. The new artificial peninsula is meant to shield the capital from the impact of storms and provide additional living space.
The peninsula is so important because it resolves many of the capital's challenges in one fell swoop. It protects the city from the consequences of climate change, provides a way of disposing of excess excavated earth, and creates living space with schools, offices and commercial property. A defense against future storm surges, and a completely new waterside district housing 35,000 people on 3 square kilometers. That's how politicians and developers are promoting the project. Michael Colville Andersen hopes it won't get that far. He isn't the only one concerned about the Baltic Sea.
Lynetteholm, it's this environmental catastrophe, and yet they're not talking about that, about, removing all of this diverse ocean life from the ocean floor. And also all the fresh water that comes in and out of the Baltic Sea to Germany as well. We're basically putting a cork in one of these underground, channels. So like the water quality in the Baltic Sea already bad, it's going to get worse.
An act of preservation or destruction? Denmark's historic project to counter climate change is highly controversial. It's due for completion in 2070. Some call it greenwashing. Others say it's an essential defense against flooding. Copenhagen is regarded as particularly at risk.
Lynetteholmen is a solution to it, and the solution and the discussion is, of course, how big should it be, how much of Lynetteholmen should be a natural landscape, how much should it be building. But I think regardless of who you talk to, there's an understanding that we have to do something, because otherwise the historic city will be flooded in 100 years. And I don't think anyone is ready to do that yet.
A city with a flair for forward-looking design. That's combining sustainability and fun. And wants to be a pioneer when it comes to social cohesion and healthy living. A green vision. Here, people count, not cars. Hip, high-tech, and hyggelig. While other cities struggle to face the future, in Copenhagen, it has already arrived.